Good morning. It's good to see all of you here. And before we start, I want to make a special announcement. Not so special, but special depending on how you look at it. If there's anyone who is here, you don't want to be photographed, please, you can take the seats at the back on my left, next to the camera crew. There's the last 2 rows there. You can take them if you don't want to be photographed. If you don't sit there, we'll assume that you're okay. And the host of the event will be free to use the images in whichever way they find suitable. So it's good to see all of you here as we wait for the launching of the Baseline Protection Study Report covering 2022 to 2024. And to start us off, I want to invite Naomi to come and lead us in the national anthem and the East African anthem. Naomi, please come and let's all be upstanding.
I hope you're going to have the lyrics. Good morning, everyone. But I know you know our our Kenyan anthem. So together, let's sing it in the Swahili version. E Mungu nguvu yetu, ilete baraka kwetu, haki iwe ngao na mlinzi, na tukae na udugu, amani na uhuru, raha tupate na usawi. Amkeni ndugu zetu, tufanye sote bidii, nasi tujitoe kwa nguvu. Nchi yetu ya Kenya tunayoipenda, tuwe tayari kuilinda na tujenge taifa letu. Ndiye wajibu wetu, Kenya istahili heshima. Tugane mikono pamoja kazini, kila siku tuwe na shukrani. Ewe Mungu twaomba uilinde Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, kuitimize na maana yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuwajibike, tuhatarishe. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Asanteni sana.
Thank you. Pastor Linda, if you can come so that you lead us in a word of prayer, so that then after that we will start with the opening remarks.
Good morning, everybody. Let's pray together. We thank you for this day, and we thank you for this morning and the privilege and opportunity that we have to be here together. We just want to acknowledge, even as the anthem has said, that you, O God, are the God of all creation, and that everything that we do it under your care. And this particular morning, we have conversations ahead of us concerning the Republic of Kenya. We thank you. Your word tells us the earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. And so we invite your presence into this place. We invoke the help of God over every conversation, every discussion, every deliberation. And we also invoke the help of God over this nation, and particularly the young people of our nation. We ask that you would guide us through the proceedings of this morning and that even as we come out of this place, we will be backed by your power in everything that we endeavor to do. We pray these things in Jesus' name. God's people said, amen.
Thank you so much, Pastor Linda, for the word of prayer. And again, we're here to witness the release of the report, the baseline report on protection study, or the baseline protection study report, that will be looking at what has been happening in our justice system, and especially looking at the police abuse of power. So we'll be waiting to hear the details, but let me invite Ayub Were to come and set the stage for us as you get into this. Ayub.
Good morning, everyone. I have a brief role to welcome all of you to this important meeting. And so first, I want to recognize our guests, our chief guest, who is being represented by Builder Keke, the chair of IPOA, the CEO IPOA, CEO Witness Protection Agency, the judicial representative, Justice Muigai, ODPP representative, Mr. Robert Oyembo, and representative from the National Police Service Commission, or National Police Service, directors and leaders from the other arms of the criminal justice system, the leaders from Police Reform Working Group, and civil society organizations that are represented here, leaders and representatives from embassies or high commissions, and all distinguished invited guests, Jambo. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome each of you to today's meeting. Your presence reflects the shared commitment we all have towards strengthening the criminal justice system and building a nation where everyone feels safe. We are gathered to launch the baseline report, which focuses on the justice system response to police accountability. If each of you brings unique insights, expertise, and perspectives that are vital to our collective success toward this mission, whether you've been part of this journey from the beginning or are joining us anew, your voice and perspectives matters deeply. Today's agenda is designed to foster open dialogue, align our interventions, and a call to action. Let us approach this meeting with curiosity, by way of asking questions, seeking more clarity, frankness by being open, and a spirit of co-creation, working together in terms of the responses that we require to strengthen the criminal justice system. Thank you once again for being here. Let's make this session productive, inspiring, and engaging. Thank you, and karibuni sana.
All right, thank you, Ayub. Now, allow me to invite ASAP's consultants, because they're the ones who did this work, to come and give us the details about what they were able to find. And of course, thereafter, they'll engage us in a bit of conversation where we'll have some questions and answers to tell us how well are we doing, how badly are we doing, where are the challenges, what are some of the recommendations they want to make towards this. ASAP's.
Good morning, everyone. As we wait for the technical folks to figure out how we put up our presentation, my name is Kenneth Okwaro. I work with an organization called ASEPIS. We have been working with IJM and several or most of criminal justice system institutions in the country over the past 1 year or so in this research work. So, first of all, I just wanted to appreciate some of my colleagues who are in the team that has done this research. I think I can see two of them on the other side of the room. If you just stand up and wave, I think I can see Emmanuel and Regan Muliro. Thank you very much. The other side. All right. Good morning once again. I wanted to begin by asking 4 questions, and I'd request, I think I saw pens on each of the tables or seats. You just raise up your hand if you answer yes to the questions I'm about to ask. Okay? Can I see a trial? If you want to say yes to any answer, just carry up your hand this way. Don't fear. All right. Question number 1. Who here has ever experienced an episode or an incident of police misconduct or police abuse of power? Don't fear. We are a free country. Right, you can put your hands down. Who here has ever witnessed, you didn't experience but you saw, ever witnessed an episode or an event of police abuse of power or misconduct? All right? Don't fear. Can you have your hands straight? Thank you. Who here has ever participated in any processes in the criminal justice system? This can be reporting a case, providing evidence, writing testimony, going to court. Anyone? Right, thank you very much. And lastly, who here believes in their heart and mind that the criminal justice system in the country is capable and willing to deal with and address the issue of police abuse of power? All right, thank you very much. I wanted to say to see what your opinions are to put this into motion. I have been challenged to try and squeeze all this 1-year-long research work into 20 minutes or so. I am going to try. So I will begin by outlining what we went out to do. As indicated at the beginning, this is a baseline study report trying to figure out what the situation is before IJM works with the various stakeholders in the country on how to assist the country to deal with issues about police abuse of power. So the first objective was to assess the extent to which Kenyans rely on the criminal justice system for protection on issues with police abuse of power, which I will now begin to call PAP. 2 is to determine the extent to which stakeholders in the criminal justice system, non-state actors, are confident in their capability to deliver their mandates to address PAP. The third one was to look at the various stakeholders in terms of their interests and their power and what they can do or what they can be influenced to do to address PAP. And then we also sought out to investigate the prevalence. That's why I asked you the first question, whether you have experienced or you have witnessed. So we sought to check or assess or measure prevalence of PAP in the country. And lastly, we also sought to measure performance of the criminal justice system to address PAP. So that was our objective, and that's what we went out to do over that period of time. How did we do it? We used the IJM protection model, which I think you must have seen now across the room. There's one that's describing the 4 elements in the protection model, and you will see as I continue to talk. We did some context analysis to see what the context within which we are doing this research is. And we also did stakeholder mapping and analysis to understand who is where, how powerful, how influential, and what they can do. What evidence did we rely on? We did a survey and also consulted rights holders through focus group discussions and key informant interviews. We did a national survey talking to 5,700 households across the country in 9 counties in all the 8 former provinces. We did 17 focus group discussions with about 170 participants. And we did 49 interviews for a domain we're calling performance and 43 interviews for a domain that we're calling confidence. So that is the evidence that we relied on, of course, with a desk review of literature that was existing. Just as an example, just to show you that we went across the country and how we got to the 5,700, we went to those counties from Kiambu to Garissa. How did we do this? The quantitative data was analyzed through SPSS, and we ended up with the statistics and frequency tables that you will see in the report. A lot of the interviews and focus group discussions, we transcribed that data and did analysis through thematic analysis. You will see in the report verbatim quotes, and also there's an analysis of the qual data. We wanted to situate the study within the protests that happened last year because they kind of square into the discussion that we're talking about. Most of the data that we collected, particularly on the quantitative survey, happened between May and just before the protest happened in June. So I'd like you to bear that in mind as you see the results, because I anticipate that this question is going to come up later on in terms of how perhaps the protests affected the results. So I'm just saying that we collected the data before the revolution or the protest happened. So I'll go straight to what we found. I indicated that we did the measurement across the 4 domains. The first domain tracks the proportion of targeted population that are directly affected or victimized by police abuse of power. So, after all those surveys and the conversations we had, what we found is that about 43% of Kenyans have experienced or have been victims of police misconduct, or you can say police abuse of power. Most of them are in urban settings. Most of them are male. And most of them are between age 25 and 34. We utilize the IPOA definition of police misconduct. And when we asked the several people we spoke to whether they have experienced any of the things that are in that definition, what we find is most prevalent is corruption and extortion, harassment, inaction, and you can see the list as it goes down. We noted that most of these incidences happen towards the weekend, especially in Friday to Saturday, and mostly in the evenings, particularly from 5 p.m. towards the night. Beyond those who have themselves been victims of abuse, we wanted to check whether there are people who were not able to report it to us. So we checked with their neighbors, their friends, their family. That's why we asked who has witnessed. And the percentage is slightly higher, and you can understand why. 69%. And we try to look at the various regions in the country. You can see there that still a lot of people in Kisumu, within Nairobi, Mombasa, the major cities in the country, which again aligns with the previous finding that most of this happens in urban settings. We asked folks what predisposes someone to experience or to be victims. And there are several things people say, particularly in focus group discussions. Age. Young people are more predisposed and are more likely to be abused or to be vulnerable to abuse by police. People in the informal sector, those who are in Juakali, human rights defenders, and also those who participate in illicit activities or trade like sex workers, find themselves most often victimized. The issue of religion also emerged. There was substantive evidence to show that some religions, or people who are affiliated to some religions, particularly Muslims, and those with Cushitic features, tend to be more victimized. Physical appearance, we found this very interesting. Those who've got tattoos, don't know whether there are people with tattoos here. Those who've got dreadlocks, those who've got piercings, those eccentric features tend to be victims. There was also some evidence that pointed towards some ethnicities, particularly some that we noted in the Nyanza side, that there were more reports. It's not conclusive, but there was some sort of correlation showing that some ethnicities have been victimized more. The second domain is on reliance. We check the extent to which citizens rely on the system or want to use the system for protection. So those who are victimized, or those who experienced, to what extent are they willing to go and report and to participate in the criminal justice system? That's why I asked you those questions at the beginning. What did we find? We found that about 64% are willing to report incidents or cases where they have been abused or they have seen someone who has been abused. We noted that the first or primary place they would report this is the police station, followed by a community leader, and also IPOA. So we assessed something called a crime reporting gap. We found about 63% of the gap, respondents who had been violated, but they have not reported, which brings in a very important issue that perhaps there are a lot of people out there who are experiencing this and don't feel confident enough in the system to address their issues. What were the reasons? Mainly, people don't trust authorities. I think the folks who are seated in the table in front of here would like you to reflect on this. Reporting on crime might put me or my family in danger. Again, it's a trust issue because you think that if you report, you'll be victimized. Then there's the issue of money or the costs and knowledge of the system and how to go about it. Willingness to participate. I think the observation is that several Kenyans are expressed willingness to participate in the process. Perhaps the challenge is participating through the process, because you find from reporting to the day that a conviction or a ruling is made by court, it's a long process. But largely, Kenyans are willing to report. We assess something called the survivor case participation rate, which is what I'm talking about, checking the extent to which survivors fully participate through the scheduled justice processes. We found that those who were victimized and survived and reported cases, 75% went on to participate. And you can see that the gap is 23%. Now we go to the next domain, which is confidence, where we asked the major criminal justice system stakeholders what they think about the other criminal justice system stakeholders. So IPOA would talk about DCI, or DCI would talk about ODPP, or ODPP would talk about the judiciary or the courts, what they think about how their colleagues are performing in terms of addressing this issue. We find that there is a poverty of confidence in our ability to discharge the mandates to address this issue. Just about 14% of stakeholders think that the other colleagues are doing what they need to do to address this issue. On confidence, we check two other issues. One is efficiency. How does DCI investigate? How long does ODPP take to decide to charge? How long does the judiciary take to decide whether the policeman or the policewoman was guilty or not? And here is where I think there's a lot of reflection that needs to be done, because you can see there that it's acute, just about 8%. But even amongst them, we try to look granularly, because this is talking generally about the entire system, but we try to look at the different institutions. And I think on mandate independence, we found that the judiciary scored highest. On timeliness of service delivery, ODP was scored highest. On access to the public, IPOA scored highest. On political support, that is the extent to which the executive and politicians are giving CJIS institutions support, it's ODPP. And so I'd like us to reflect on this slide a few seconds. The last thing we checked under confidence was fairness. And remember, these are colleagues rating what they think their other colleagues are doing in terms of fairness. And here, I think the score was slightly higher. 33% of stakeholders think that everyone else is fair in the way they discharge their mandates in addressing PAP. I think on this, IPOA scored the highest, particularly on non-discrimination, and on respect for dignity of persons, it was the judiciary. The last domain was on performance, looking at how everyone else is discharging their mandate towards ensuring that we keep policemen and women to account for where there is a case about abuse of power. So we looked at three elements. The first one, we looked at how complaints are registered or processed, the time it takes to investigate, expertise that exists, and also safety of witnesses. We found that largely complaints reporting and processing is good. There is a challenge in terms of effectiveness of investigations, especially on mandate independence or operational independence. a lot of stakeholders felt that a lot more independence is necessary, particularly at IPOA. And one of the major issues that was raised was the issue of lack of capacity and instruments and tools for doing their own investigations. A lot of responses on witness protection or victim protection also arose. Many feel that the country does not have an adequate system or resources for protecting witnesses or victims. We got the indication that there is a good witness protection system, but it's limited by resources. It has a very high threshold in terms of those that they admit, which means that a lot of people, a lot of victims or witnesses are not protected. In terms of performance under legal, we looked at time taken to reach judgments, we looked at convictions, we looked at case reviews or the decision to charge. The overall finding was that it takes a considerable amount of time to get a judgment on any of these cases on police abuse of power. Most of the responses were that it takes about 3 years or more, which is sad, really. And convictions are very low, whilst the public has this impression that there's a problem with police accountability, but they are not seeing convictions for police men and women who are charged. On the issue of the decision to charge, I think there was mixed reactions. There are those who feel or believe that the centralization at the ODPP has helped in terms of harmonizing and making it more efficient. But there are also those who feel that that centralization can make the system be prone to abuse because it's not decentralized, so it's at one point where one person or a few people can occupy it. The last element was under aftercare, which is essentially what happens when somebody has reported, or when somebody is within the process, or when a case has been determined. We found 4 major themes emerging here. One is on trauma-informed interactions. And the finding is that the system is not very effective in terms of providing trauma-informed interactions, that is psychosocial support, how we handle those who have been traumatized with these cases. There are few counselors or there are few people who provide this service. And a lot needs to be done because it affects people's reliance or people's willingness to report. I think I've talked about witnesses or victim protection, which the finding really is that we are largely not protecting witnesses or victims of police abuse of power, which has a direct implication on people's willingness to report these cases. In terms of restoration, there was a bit of data limitations here, because most of the conversations we had, a lot of people could not tell us clearly how someone is restored. If we find that a policeman or woman abused you or abused their power and it has been determined in court, so what? How am I compensated or how am I restored? Me who my staff were taken away by a policeman, or me who was shot in the leg, or me who a policeman did not take action in my case. So, based on all that, we advanced a list of recommendations that in the report, we just picked a few to highlight. We have outlined them across those 3 areas. First one is recommendations towards reducing prevalence. And many stakeholders feel that there needs to be some work on how we train the police force, particularly on respecting human rights, ethical behavior, and proper use of force. And also that we need to educate the public more on what the various CJS institutions do, what their mandates are, and how they can engage them, and what kind of support they can get. And we need to get more interface between CJS institutions and communities to build that trust, because you have seen how the trust is low. You have seen how people have very low confidence in the ability of these institutions to address PAP. And integration of digital mechanisms for reporting. I think this is already happening, but the issue is centralization, because we found different people with reports of police abuse of power. IAU, police stations, CSOs, chiefs. So even if one person gives you the number, it's difficult to tell which one is true. To enhance performance, one of the issues that was raised variously is the issue of resources, particularly, I think, across the board, from the judiciary to IPOA to the rest. So there's a recommendation to lobby for more resources, particularly for those oversight institutions, so that they can be able to discharge their mandate. Also, collaborative work to standardize procedures, operating procedures, particularly in investigations, so that what is done by IPOA, what is done by DCI and anyone else, they should essentially come to the same conclusion. Then the other recommendation was on operationalization of the Victim Protection Trust Fund. I don't know where it is right now, but when we finished this research, the impression was that this had not been done, which, if done, should support victims more and should increase their willingness to participate in the process. I think we've talked about increasing funding so that the Witness Protection Agency can be able to admit more. There is also a recommendation on partnerships amongst relevant actors, particularly with civil society actors, because we found that CSOs do a lot. Such organizations like IJM and IMLU and many others who work on police relations with communities, who work on reporting and monitoring abuse and the rest. So a lot more work needs to be done on how non-state actors are coordinating and working with CJA institutions. There was the issue of tracking when a case has been reported, when ODP has decided we are going to charge, monitoring the case to determine whether or where it ends, because that's how then you measure performance, and that is right now still very difficult to do. So figuring out how those who are involved can help in reviewing and providing reporting, maybe quarterly or annually, on how long these cases take and what the outcomes are. There was an issue about coordination. I think there are judicial officers who indicated that sometimes cases take long because a witness has not been brought, or a prosecutor has not come, or there are applications, there are adjournments, there are issues which can be addressed through better coordination. And then there was the issue about case management, which I think is again linked to what I've just talked about, monitoring. So one person who has reported a case, how are they supported in terms of managing that case up to where it ends, in terms of giving them information about where the case is, what is the next stage, what's going on, what are the challenges, what do they need to do? I think I will stop there. Thank you very much.
Right. Let's clap for him again for the presentation. Now, I want us to get some reactions because indeed, some interesting statistics there, the challenges that people are witnessing, and to an extent that about 62% of those affected did not even report those situations that happened to them. It raises a few questions. So I will allow a few questions. Who wants to go first? Oh, sorry. I thought I saw his hand. All right. Who has a question to pose to Kennedy? Okay. All of you okay? There's a hand here.
Thank you. I'm Cole Collins, survivor. I've heard you talking about, in most cases, police officers, they meet wanapata makosa kuanzia Friday to Sunday. What do you mean by that statement? Kuanzia Monday mpaka Thursday, hakuna makosa hapo ama? Hebu tueleze what happens between. And then, why just not mchana wanashika watu jioni? Thank you.
As a response to that, are there other hands or other questions? Is there a hand at the back? 2 hands? All right. Please give the answer. Sorry.
Okay. Hatusemi ni Friday peke yake na hatusemi ni jioni peke yake. Hii ni ile wakati kwa wiki when it is most reported. That is, in a week, you're highly likely to experience this on Friday and Saturday. It doesn't mean that today you may not experience it, but the likelihood is lower during the week. But ukienda kwa weekend, it's higher. So perhaps you want to protect yourself, or we want to talk to the policemen not to do it. It's the same as time. We are not saying it's not happening in the morning. There are those who are abused in the morning at 4 a.m. There are those who are abused in the night. Or when you look at it, the cases and what is reported, a lot of it, particularly between 5 and 7 p.m., you can see it's 28%. Asante.
Was there any explanation on the type of cases they were involved in? Because then what does it inform? Why are people being arrested near that time and on Friday? Why Friday?
So a lot of people just say that. We ask the question, when? And a lot of people just say, because it's a survey. This was a household survey. So you tick between this time and this time. And when you look at the trend, it says evening. Well, perhaps in the focus group discussions, there are guys who talked about in the evenings, particularly those who are in trade or who are in informal sector, that's when people are raided, or that's when, people are asked what they're doing. And towards the night, I think also it's because of they get the sense that they're hiding behind the dark. Yeah.
Yes. Viva Comrades, Viva.
Viva.
Viva Comrades, Viva.
Viva.
I'm Okaka Onyango, an organic intellectual with the social justice movement. And my question with regards to the report is that we see the most aggravating issue with the police is that they're the most corrupt. And the second thing was harassment. My question with regards to the report is that is there any recommendations with regards to police reforms and how they are particularly trained before they're released to the community? And the other issue also is that did you have any case in point with regards to issues of alternative justice systems, being that for most of us who come from the social justice movement have been trying to grapple with these issues of trying to have the levels of influence as regards to stakeholders being very much in the community. So are there any kind of calls to actions with regards to alternative justice systems? Thank you.
Perhaps you can wait for the second one from here.
Okay. Naitwa Benji kutoka Dagoretti Social Justice Center. So, I believe social justice centers are the primary CBOs at the community level where these cases are reported. So I wanted to know how many justice centers did you involve in your research to get that report? Thank you.
I got those? Yeah, let me begin with the last one. I indicated that we did 17 focus group discussions. They were all organized or arranged by social justice centers. I sat in one specific one in Mathare and also in Kisumu. On the question of training and the recommendation, I think it's actually the first recommendation I talked about. I think there's already work going on about this, but there needs to be a lot more emphasis on what we are producing in terms of the quality of policemen and women who understand and respect the law. And on the issue of social justice centers, I think we also have a recommendation on more engagements, community engagements with criminal justice system institutions that can be brokered very well by social justice centers. And I think we've seen examples. There was one interesting example in Kisumu about community policing and how it's really interesting the way, I think it's Kondele Police Station, who have been working with the community, and there's more reporting, and they get intelligence or information about when things are going to happen, because they have this big WhatsApp group that has about 80 people, including all CPDs and everyone, where they get real-time information. So social justice systems, institutions can play a big role in helping bridge that coordination.
All right, he says he has an answer, an explanation why people are arrested on Friday.
All right, thank you.
Yes, my name is Bishop Ambuka, and the reason why I have the answer is because I just grew up in an estate down here called Ziwani Estate, and every Friday there used to be raids. And the reason why they were raids is so that you are taken in, the police have up to Monday to take you to court. So in the weekend, your people can negotiate with them how you can be released. So that's the reason why they are arrested on Mondays. Especially now with the law that a suspect must be taken to court before 24 hours are over. The weekend is a good time to really make their money. So that's the reason why.
Okay, all right. Did your study find that out?
I thought my response was there are raids. One of the issues, but thank you for that addition.
Okay, now there's a chance for one more question. I'll give it to the lady here.
Okay. I have a question on how you arrived at the tribal, that part.
Right. Yeah, so if you can remember my explanation, we said that we were seeing some sort of a correlation, but it was not causation, because many were reporting that we think, especially the ones who are saying they have witnessed, saying many of the folks that we're seeing who have been arrested, who have been abused, are these guys. And we were getting things from focus group discussions, for instance, people saying, wewe mtu waita hii ethnic group, mnasumbua sana, nyinyi ndio. So such kind of sentiments were coming across from many of the focus group discussions that led us to think that either some mindset amongst policemen and women, or it's something that has been in there that needs to be dealt with, because some people think that there are people from particular parts of this country who are troublemakers, or who are people who are bound to disturb the police, and therefore they get that kind of reaction. But it's not causation. We place it there just to for such kind of reactions. Thank you.
All right, Ken, you're getting help from Chairman Aipoa. He has an answer to give.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Sam, and thanks for your my comments about the sweeps during the weekends. IPOA investigators and inspectors go to police stations impromptu, sometimes just to go and check on those who have been arrested. And we discovered that, as you have said, over the weekend, there's a lot of arrests. And by Monday, a lot of those are not in the cell anymore. They have been released. And very few are taken to court. And if you check the occurrence book, when you arrest a person, you are required to book at the occurrence, at the OB, the name, the person, and the offense. But most of them, they are off the book. They are arrested, and when our inspectors go there, they ask for the OB, and they're not on the register. So this, they are, as you have said, the last speaker, they are there for a specific purpose. And I think when Mwezi corner, they do these raids once in a while. And in Isli especially, they say it is the current account of the police. They go and do this. When things are bad, they go and do a sweep. And I think we are very lucky now with the new constitution. We cannot keep a person for more than 24 hours. Now, we know that there's a proposed amendment to the law by the police to require a power to give notice before they go and inspect the cells. And you know why. Thank you.
All right. Is there any other burning question? Because I want to close this. If none, we'll leave the rest for when we're hearing from our speakers. Thank you so much, Ken, for the presentation. Another hand of applause.
Thank you.
And of course, we'll be finding out how come that majority are reporting police excesses to the police, very few reporting to the internal IAU, Internal Affairs Unit, and another very few are reporting to IPOA. We'll discuss that later on. But first, I want to invite Traveling Theatre for a breather. Traveling Theatre, waiting for you.
Mshipi. Hata hiyo socks unaweza jinyonga nayo. Toa. Afisa, just give me a moment. Moment ya nini? Ingia huko ndani. Mtu anakaa. Na hakuna positive response. Nadhani kazi ni yako. Ingia huko ndani. Afisa, na hii nyang'au leo umetoa wapi? Ni bahati sijakuja na wote. Wamepiga kelele huko nje. Sasa ulikuwa unataka tufanye nini? Sasa afisa, unajua wanaleta disturbance.
Wewe, ni nini? Kwani ilitoka wapi?
Disturbance kitu gani?
Kama unataka kuwa polisi, si ungeenda ufundishwe kwa Sunday school.
Bana madam.
Unajua leo ni Friday. Naona from above inasema watu wajae.
Watu wajae.
Sasa unataka mimi nikipewa transfer niende Mandera huko?
Hapana madam.
Kale kabatelo kangu.
Unajua lazima tufikishe target. Zinajulikana. Sasa unajua sinyo wanataka kubukiwa. Umesikia ule mwingine anasema wasibukiwe bure. Sasa utaandikia nini? Sasa afisa, sasa ule rasta utaandikia nini? Kwa nini shenzi kiasi gani? Wewe kiganja ulienda kufundishwa nini?
Uliza.
Si unaona ile ni rasta. Kila mtu hapa anajua. Ukiona rasta wekea bangi. Si ni kweli? Ni ukweli? Weka bangi. Wewe. Weka bangi. Na nikuulize afisa, unajua tumeweka bangi. Na sasa hii bangi itatoka wapi yenye tumemwandikia? Wewe. Afande. Si ile bangi ya juzi gunia 2 iko bado kwa store. Iko kwa store. Basi wekea hiyo pumbavu. Hiyo. Wewe. Ile kasichana kenyakana mwili. Kanauliza ati wanapeleka wapi? Amekupiga. Ana-assault afisa. Andika assault. Sasa afisa, na ile ingine sasa. Unaona wenye imevaa? Hata inauza tu gazi. Inaandikia prostitution hapo. Inauza bila permit.
Na unajua ile wakati ya eclipse
ilitoroka. Haya sasa unaona hiyo tuko well sorted. Unajua afisa, sasa mimi niko na stress ya ule waria. Ule waria sasa yeye tuandikie yeye nini?
Apande. Hii ilitoka wapi nyang'au? Usiweke ile terrorist.
Wewe kwani kiganja ulienda kufundishwa nini? Hapo iko sawa. Ile ni waria, weka terrorist. Terrorist. Umeshamaliza? Hapo iko sawa. Sasa chukua majina ukao sasa. Wewe. Kila mtu kiatu.
Rudi huko. Kuja hapa.
Rudi huko. Basta huko.
Yaani wewe ulisahau kuvaa nguo ya chini.
Haraka wewe ukisachia unakuja hapa. Huko. Nimesema kiatu moja. Toa kiatu. Toa. Waria usikue hapa unasikia? Waria umesikia? Toa kiatu. Toa. Nimesema toa kiatu. Umesikia? Angalia huko. Wewe. Toa kiatu. Afisa. Madam. Chukua hii msichana. Peleka huko.
Kuja.
Wewe msichana.
Kuja.
Unataka kutuuzia bado? Hatununui hatutaki hiyo. Enda huko. Ingia hapa. Uvae nguo mzuri. Ubavu. Wewe, rasta. Toa hadi mshipi. Toa mshipi rasta. Sina mshipi. Mshipi. Wewe buki, kuja ubuki. Toa mshipi. Sina mshipi, nimetoa kiatu. Umetoa? Haya. Toa. Yote. Na socks?
Leta hizi
baridi iko. Atiba toa socks. Wewe, enda huko. Enda huko. Afisa. Waria, nimesema toa mshipi. Toa mshipi waria. Toa mshipi. Afisa amevaa jogging pants. Unapiga mimi bure. Na simpo anasema utapigwa bure. Unaongea. Wewe uko na nini huko kwanza? Mimi hapana kitu bwana hapa. Hauna kitu.
Wewe.
Unatembea hivi bila kitu. Wewe ni mwanaume kweli? Haya. Hauna kitu. Hauna kitu. Hapo ni special case. Songa huku. Kazi ni bangi tu, si ndio?
Wewe.
Unaenda wapi na hujaandikwa? Wewe ndio. Unaenda wapi na hujaandikwa? Mimi sitafanya kitu. Ingia huko. Maria. Yaani wewe unafika bei na unataka kulala ndani. Kwani iko pesa ya fee bana? Fee kitu gani? Iko pesa ya fee. Umesikia ni shule? Hii ni police station. Umesikia? Wewe nyamaza na nilikwambia nyamaza. Umesikia? Fanya hivi. Enda nyumbani. Enda nyumbani. Rudi hapa, kuja hapa. Yaani utakuja huko ndani. Ilete hapa.
Afande.
Sio unapatiwa freedom, alafu tunacheza na freedom.
Lakini si ungepatia transport.
Transport. Imeenda. Yaani mtu anafika bei na anataka kulala ndani. Kwani mtu hana akili?
Lakini afande, unajua sisi hapana charge penye wanalala anaweza lala bure.
Sasa iko hivi. atapata mshahara. Shika hii. Shika hii.
Tutagawana.
Shika.
Tutagawana.
Hii tutagawana.
Hii patia huyu anunua hata kalamu.
Wewe jua wewe kazi ujui training, shika hii.
Visa, unajua nyinyi ndio mnatafuta.
Mtu kazi ni yake.
Nyinyi mnatafuta, nyinyi mnaniletea.
Tafuta ujanja. Ile Nigeria imeishi hapa wiki 3 ujui kumwambia tafute pesa.
Sasa mimi nakula aje nyinyi msipotafuta?
Wewe enda training, sawa? Wenda training vizuri, uje kutafuta pesa.
Sawa.
Bwana, saa ngapi hapo?
Saa ni saa 2.
Masaa ya wezi na walevi. Hii lazima wote watalala hapa ndani. Lazima walale hapa ndani. Tafanya hivi madam. Wacha sisi tuende patrol. Tuchukue ingine. Na utafute nafasi huko ndani. Watu wajazane huko. Unajua leo ni weekend. Weekend lazima kujae. Na lazima target ifike. Kila mtu anajua, si ndio?
Lazima target ifike.
Na umake sure hiyo pesa tumekupatia hata umenunua wino ya kuendelea kuandika muziki. Wewe mchinga.
My friend, Mrasta! Wewe Mrasta? Umesikia? Leo ni weekend, umesikia?
Mimi nimeshika bure.
Wewe sema tu umeshikiwa bure hapo. Unavuta bangi, si ndio?
Nishafuta bangi.
Mrasta, kaa hapo vizuri ukijua leo ni weekend. Hapo inaenda kujaa, mfinyane vizuri. Sawa sawa? Simu, sasa ni late, tutachukua simu kesho. Sasa hii Joel is wrong, that's why unafundishwa right hapa. Sasa ni late. Utabidi umegoja kesho. Chunga usiflood police station.
What is it? What is it? Why are you disturbing my peace? I was just relaxing and you want to disturb my peace now. What is it?
You are not a Kenyan.
I'm not a Kenyan, I'm a Nigerian.
Why have they arrested you? Umeshikiwa nini? Why have they arrested you?
I don't know. I was just on my way. I was just waiting for a taxi to take me to the airport. And as I was waiting, two men dressed in civilian just came from my back and pounced on me. The next thing I knew, I was in a police van. The next minute, I'm in this cell. I don't know what I'm doing here. I should be in Nigeria now.
Nasi, you could have asked. You could have asked. No, now Uliza, you asked them, what have you done?
Whom do I ask here? Your officers here are so rough, they don't know even to work. I don't know if this is a police service or a police force. I'm confused. At the gate, they have written police service. But here, it's police force everywhere. That's what I've been seeing the whole day. And the whole week I've been here.
And let me ask you, have you reached to anyone? Kuna mutu, is there anybody who knows you are here?
My friend, I've tried to even reach my family. They won't allow me. I tried once. The next minute I tried to, they don't even allow me. Every time they tell me to just sit here. I don't know how long I've been here. I've been here for 3 weeks. 3 weeks, my friend. 3 weeks.
You know, here in our country, the law says that if you are arrested, you should be in the police custody for only 24 hours. If it is past 24 hours, that is illegal. They've done you wrong.
Is that so?
Yeah, they've done you wrong.
And why are they keeping me here for that long? What could I have done?
Even me. I was just going home, and they arrested me. And they've charged me with bang.
Oh, I'm sorry, my friend. Bang. I'm sorry.
But don't worry, if I'm out, I will look into different ways to help you.
You will?
Yes. I can even tell, you can give me a contact of your people. I will tell them to file for habeas corpus. Because if they don't know where you are, they can file for habeas corpus.
For sure.
Yes.
For me, anything. I can do anything for now. I cannot even dare to choose. I can do anything for now.
Yeah.
If you will help me, that will be good.
I will help you. And by the way, what is your name?
My name is Chukwemeka.
Chukwemeka?
Yes, but back in Nigeria, they call me Prince.
They call you Prince?
Yes.
You mean you are a prince in a police cell?
I seem so. Unfortunately,
you see, here in Kenya, we have two princes. We have Prince Inda, and we have the Kenyan prince.
Oh, two princes.
You know them?
I'm the dad prince now.
Yeah, the dad prince, but you are
Hapa ndo waliletwa. Huku ndio waliletwa kwa hii police station, tulikuwa tunatembea nao na wakashikwa wakaletwa huku.
So na mko sasa ni huku, si ndio?
Sisi tulikuwa na wao.
Okay, then I think what we do before we proceed in, itakuwa mzuri tukiconfirm majina, mtanipea majina, then tuangalie kama walikuwa booked. Si iko sawa? So umesema wa kwanza alikuwa anaitwa nani?
Tulikuwa na Mato, anaitwa Martin Kinyanjui, jina zake zote.
Martin Kinyanjui.
ID ni Shivuta. Shivuta.
Martin Shivuta. Okay, Martin Shivuta. The other lady?
Jacinta Aoko.
Jacinta Aoko. And you said there was a third lady that followed, lakini
Priscilla aliwafuata. Sasa hata tujui akupiga simu ati ama sasa tujui hata kama ameshikwa.
I think tutafanya tuuliza tu maybe kama pia alikuwa kama alishikwa ama then tutaambiwa, si ndio? But I think now tunaweza ingia ndani. Sawa. Excuse me afisa.
Excuse. Unalala.
Pole afisa.
Hapana afisa.
Unaweza kuja aje police station? Hapana. No.
Pole.
Hapana. Rudi.
Okay, afisa.
Siwahudumii. Hamwezi kuja police station. Na mnakuja tu papa. Mnakuja yani
afisa, tumesema we didn't mean, na ndio maana tumesema pole.
So who are you?
Okay, mimi ni wakili Johnston and these two are my colleagues. Tutetea haki advocate.
Na sisi ni wa marafiki za wenye wameshikwa huku.
Asiakuuliza, wewe ni wakili?
Mimi ni wakili.
Wakili kutoka wapi?
Nimesema tetea haki advocate. Huko umemka salama hii asubuhi?
Niko salama my friend.
Hiyo ni mzuri.
Sasa nikusaidie aje?
Haya, tumekuja kuna vijana watatu mmeshika Rambo, walishikwa jana jioni na walikuwa booked in kwa hii station yenu.
Vijana walishikwa wengi my friend.
Walikuwa watatu.
Walikuwa wengi.
Walikuwa watatu, wawili lakini I think one followed.
Sasa one followed and we don't know if she's here.
Yeah.
So vijana watatu, wawili, all this crowd inakuja kutoa watu wawili.
Tulikuwa na wao tukitembea.
Watu wawili.
Sasa
I think hiyo ataita.
No. Wengine waweze kurudi. Nibaki na wawili.
Afisa, si police station ni kubwa. Sasa unatuambiaje tutoke shwali?
Hiyo iko sawa. Yeah. Afisa, I think you are dealing with me, you're not dealing with all of them.
Sawa.
Yeah, nilikuwa na maybe tunaweza confirm majina alafu tuangalie kama walikuwa booked in.
Sawa, walikuwa na kina nani?
Kulikuwa na Jacinta Aoko. Jacinta Aoko.
Umesema?
Jacinta Aoko.
Jacinta Aoko.
Yeah, Jacinta.
Huyo alishikwa jana saa 2.
So she's amekuwa booked hapa.
Kwanza huyo kwanza alishikwa akiuza.
Anauza
nini
nini afisa?
Marafiki zake na mtu chenye anauza?
Anauza afisa maybe.
Anauza bila permit.
Afisa anauza nini?
Si anauza ngono.
Tulikuwa na Jacinta tumetoka kazi mimi kwanza ni polisi anasema shwari.
Hakuna shida.
Guy.
Afisa huyo pia alikuwa anaitwa Martin Shivuta,
Mato.
Yeah, Martin Shivuta.
Martin Shivuta.
Yeah.
Shivuta. Yaani huyo anakosa kuvuta vako, anavuta bangi. Unaona ubaya vijana.
So charges za Martin ni ampatikana na bangi.
Huyo alishikwa na bangi.
Kuna kitu kama
bangi. But haina shida. Alafu afisa tulikuwa tunaulizia na wa mwisho, I think tumeambiwa alikuwa amekuja kufollow up on them the two, then yeye pia hajarudi nyumbani
na hajapiga simu.
Priscilla Mudhoni.
Alishikwa wote. Unajua hapa tuko na Prince. Mnauliza Prince ule Prince
Priscilla Mudhoni.
Alikuwa ni msichana
Priscilla Mudhoni.
Msichana.
Priscilla Mudhoni.
Walishikwa pamoja. Kwanza huyo kesi yake ni wasi. Huyo ni kama amepagawa akili.
Unamaanisha
nini? Yaani huyo anataka kupigana na polisi. Anapigana na polisi, anakunja ngumi.
Afisa, okay, I think you got this. But
just before you proceed, nimesikia ukisema kuna mwenye ameshikiwa bangi. Or what have I just heard?
In fact, ni kama wote wanavuta
bangi. Mawakili wenzangu, just a minute. Can we have a talk here? Just a minute, kindly.
Wakili, kwani kuna shida?
Kwani nikuulize, tulikuwa tunakuja kutoa wenye wanavuta bangi, ama tulikuwa tumekuja kutoa human rights defenders?
Wakili, I think first of all it's very wrong tunasema.
sidhani kama kuna evidence tumuonyesha watu wanavuta bangi, na pia hawajakuwa taken to court ndio tuseme walikuwa wanavuta bangi. What you are doing right now ni kama umeamua kucharge na kuwapunga kusema already walikuwa wanavuta bangi, and that is very wrong, wakili.
But I guess a police officer hizi andika tu hapo watu walikuwa na bangi, hata hawakuwa na bangi.
Wakili, this thing has been happening. It's not the first time you are handling this. And please, Wakili, if you cannot handle this, I and Wakili here we're going to sort it out.
Exactly.
Please.
Nata venye our code of conduct venye inasema, if you are uncomfortable handling this case, then I think unaweza walk out to sisi tuta move on mbele nayo.
Kindly.
Sio iko sawa.
Let me tell you something. Hadi mtoto wangu mwenyewe ashaanza kukick, ananusia harufu ya bangi within the police station.
Wakili, I think you can just exit.
Okay, it's fine. Mimi na exit. Mambo mimi sijakuja kujadili mambo na bangi, kutoa watu wa bangi. Nimekuja kutoa ma human rights defenders. Anaigiza watumiangi bangi, if I'm not wrong, and a police officer haizi andika walishikiwa bangi kama wako na bangi.
Wakili, tutadiscuss.
Okay, it's fine. I'm out.
Wakili. Excuse me first. I think I'm going to sort the police cash bill with one of the comrades. Then you can proceed with other comrades, right?
Yeah, iko sawa.
Thank you.
You can do that. Kila kitu iko sawa. So my colleague ataenda kushughulikia cash bail, then I think moving forward maybe tunaweza angalia wako waje, si ndio? So officer, is it possible naweza ongea nao?
Yeah, it is possible, lakini mmoja.
Officer, sinaweza ona wote at least. Just to confirm at least they are safe na wote wako salama.
Mmoja ataongea on behalf of wawili. Mbona mnanisumbua?
Sasa you know you arrested 2 ladies and 1 man. So ingekuwa mzuri tukiona wote at least tukue certain wako sawa.
Haya, kila mmoja dakika moja.
Okay, okay, I think tutawaka na hiyo but iko sawa.
Sawa.
But msikuwe na wasiwasi. I'm sure everything is going to be okay na kila kitu itakuwa sawa.
Wamekelewa ni za uongo. Mimi venye na
hiyo hata isikuwe shida. Is she the one? Ni huyu. Martin. Wewe.
Uko aje?
Tuko poa. Okay. Mko salama? Tuko poa. Mko poa. Me have anything? Tunatoka. Don't worry, my colleague is working on that. Anashughulikia cash bail, but mtatoka. Msikuwe na wasiwasi. Maybe is there maybe anything naweza saidia kwa sahi?
Ninataka pads.
Okay. I think I can naweza shughulikia hiyo. Venye utapata sanitary towels. Martin, Priscilla.
Mimi nikitoka niko sawa.
Okay, hiyo ina shida. Hiyo inashughulikiwa. Priscilla, you're okay?
Nimeumizwa mkono.
And
Nimeumizwa mkono na afande. Wamenishikia hapa hivi kwa gate. Na wameniumiza mkono.
Wakakuleta huku kumumia mkono.
Hapana, wameniumizia hapo hivi wakinishika kwa hiyo.
Okay, kitu tutafanya kwa saa hii.
Kuna kitu mnasaidia kwa hiyo.
Mimi nataka justice. Nataka kuandika statement, nataka kuandikisha polisi mwenye amenigonga juu nimemuona. Na nataka haki. Kwa sababu mimi nimeumia.
Hizo kesi huwezi saidika. Tuambie hivyo hataezi saidika. Mimi nimeona watu wamekosoa na polisi na wakaandikisha na wakasaidika. Kuna ma-organizations zinasaidianga hivi vitu.
Organizations
kitu rafiki yako anakuambia ni ukweli. Si ati karao akikukosea, si ati polisi akikukosea hauwezi saidika. I think ni venye sisi wengi wetu hapa kama wananchi hatujui ni wapi tunaweza kuripoti. Na hapo ndio tunakosea.
Sina report hapa tu kwa police station.
Unaona? Na hapo ndio makosa iko. Kumbuka pia mapolisi pia wako na code of conduct na kusema ukweli wanafanya kazi pia kama mandugu, ni kama venye mandugu zako wamekujali. There is no way to expect uende kumripoti kwa polisi mwenzake na maybe wakusaidie. Lakini venye rafiki yako amekwambia hiyo sasa ni ukweli. Kuna mashirika yenye inaweza kusaidia ukiwa uko na such a case.
Mashirika kama gani?
Sasa I think now that is the right question. Kuna IPOA, Independent Police Oversight Authority, yenye ina work pamoja na IAU, Internal Affairs Unit. Hao kitu wanafanya, nikiwa uko na kesi na afisa, watafanya uchunguzi dhidi ya huyo afisa, na ikiwa atapatikana na makosa na there is enough evidence, then watawork hand in hand na ofisi ya DPP, na hapo ndio ofisi ya DPP itaamua whether to charge or not, ikiwa huyo ofisa atapatikana na makosa na evidence iko ya kutosha.
Sasa vile huyu
Bila alipigwa hivi, unamaanisha anaweza enda kuripoti kwa IPOA na IAU.
Exactly.
Ama ni wapi hapo kama venye sasa mimi najua nikitoka hapa naenda kwangu.
Swali mzuri sana dadangu. Maofisi hizi mashirika ukiitaka kwanza unaweza enda kwa on their websites. Ukienda utafute tu hapo IPOA ama utatafuta Internal Affairs Unit. Utapata hapo kuna toll free numbers na pia hata kuna emails you can write to them and I think wata respond. Lakini hata juu hayo ni vizuri tukielimishana zaidi. Umejua there is a research imefanywa kuanzia 2022 to last year 2024 on March. That was before the Gen Z protest. Na hii research ilikuwa inafanywa na International Justice Mission na ilifanywa in all the 8 provinces hapa Kenya on police abuse of power. 8 provinces. The 8 provinces hapa Kenya. Exactly. Kumbe umenielewa ras. Hiyo ndio kitu namaanisha. Na this research ilifanywa in an organic way as possible. Nasema organic kwa maana yake wali include human right defenders, community based organization, government agencies. Nadi wakago an extra mile kuifanya door to door ili wasikie maoni ya wananchi jinsi mapolisi wanafanya kazi yao. Sio ni kazi mzuri sana? Hiyo ni kazi mzuri sana, si ndio? Na even to make matters good, there were certain outcomes ilikuja na hii research. Kuna some certain cases zilikuwa zinaonekana ziko on the rise. Kulikuwa na kesi ya kwanza, kulikuwa na I think I had the report over here but nimeacha kidogo. Kulikuwa na extortion. Hiyo ndio ilikuwa juu. Ya kwanza under that research kulikuwa na extortion. Ya pili ilikuwa profiling of youth. Vijana tu kama nyinyi. Exactly ras venye umefanyiwa. Simply because you are a youth na uko na dread ama sijui umevaa nguo exactly. Na uko na dreadlocks. Inakuwa wewe ni mwizi ama wewe unavuta bangi. Ama simply because you are a lady na umevaa nguo yako mzuri, dress yako mzuri unaambiwa. Exactly. So na ya tatu ilikuwa harassment. And I think my sister Priscilla, pole sana. Unashikwa lakini the way that they are handling you si proper hata kidogo. Na umeshikwa bure for sure. Pole sana tena Priscilla. Na under this research ya outcome ya 4 kulikuwa na arbitrary arrest. Vijana tu kushikwa kiholela. Na umejua something funny is that under the research these cases are only happening on the weekends. Kama si nyinyi jana exactly. Kuanzia Friday mpaka Sunday. Na unapata the target ni mostly youths. Unaona? And that nimesema ilikuwa inafanyika in all the 8 provinces hapa Kenya. Pole sana ras. Lakini kitu unasema pia ni ukweli. And I think si Nairobi peke yake. Nimesema ni all the 8 provinces. Lakini under the research kulikuwa na 8 major towns zilikuwa zimegundulika that hizi cases ziko on the rise sana. Na hizo towns zilikuwa kama venye nimesema. Ya kwanza ilikuwa Nairobi. Kulikuwa na ya pili Nakuru, Kisumu, Mombasa na Garissa. Huko ndizo cases zilikuwa on the rise sana. And I think maybe wananchi wakiamua kuungana na pia tukiwa na such information then tunaweza anza kudiscuss maybe venye tunaweza deal with such issues na tujengane. There is no problem on that. Kutoka usijali. I think my colleague was working on that and ana finalize hapo. Venye umesema information tukiwa na mama tupeleke nyumbani itakuwa mzuri ama tukielewa. I'd also like to tell you umejua kesho tutakuwa kuna
swali wakili. Yes. Umeniambia naenda kuripoti kwa hiyo umesema
IPOA Independent Police Oversight Authority.
Hiyo majina ni ngumu. Sasa nikuulize nikienda kuripoti huko, uko sure hao mapolisi hawatanifuata kwa nyumba yangu wakuje waniue?
Hapana. Hapana. Ndio maana nimekwambia hiyo niko sure. Wakili. Utatoka. Yes, wakili.
Wakili, tunashukuru sana we managed to meet the OCS na wameweza kutukubalia kwa release na police cash bill. Tafadhali. So I think
iko mzuri. Inashughulikiwa ama imeshughulikiwa?
Imeshughulikiwa already. So they need to be
rasi iko sawa.
Martin Shivuta. Chukua kiatu. Na ufunge mshipi. Sawa? Kabisa. Next time badilisha jina. Shivuta. Priscilla. Aje Sinta. Kwa vitu zenyu, baki kiatu.
Afisa, tumeshukuru sana. Tumeshukuru sana. Na kwa wananchi, Ni vizuri sana tukielewa katiba yetu ya Kenya. Under Article 49 of the Kenyan Constitution inaongelea rights of an arrested person. Ni vizuri sana ukielewa haki zako kama mtu ameshikwa. Next time hata labda si ras pekee atakuwa ameshikwa, inaweza kuwa hata wewe, na ni vizuri sana ukielewa ukiwa umeshikwa ni nini unapaswa kufanya na ni nini usifanye. Na kwa mashirika ya utetezi ya haki, tuwatumikie wananchi wetu jinsi katiba yetu ilivyotupa nguvu. Hapo si tuko sawa? Na kwa mapolisi wetu, tukumbuke that no one is above the law. We should uphold and respect the rule of law. Si hapo tuko sawa wananchi? Na ningependa niwakumbushe, haimaanishi polisi akikukosea hauwezi saidika. Nimesema kuko na IPOA, Independent Police Oversight Authority, ambayo inawaka hand in hand na IAU, Internal. Kumbe mumenielewa. Ni vizuri mumenielewa. Tumesema hao watachunguza, ikiwa polisi atapatikana na makosa na kuna enough evidence, then wataforward kesi kwa ofisi ya nani? Ya DPP, Director of Public Prosecutions. Then hao watadecide whether to charge or not to charge. Si hapo tuko sawa? Tuelimishane.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. We give them a better hand. So we want to hear from the president of the Law Society of Kenya. I was wondering if she was going to be among the team that I come to rescue the people here. But as we bring back the podium, I was also wondering what the policeman was writing all that time at the back there. But we'll hear from representatives from the National Police Service. Maybe there's a bit of writing that goes into all those. But I think also it's a moment for us to reflect. Those young people may have paid a cash bill for no good reason, really. There is money that is going into other things, and it shouldn't be going there. So, Madam President, please come back. Welcome and talk to us. Can give her welcome her with a clap.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning again. I am sorry I didn't come when the protocols were being pronounced, but the Country Director, International Justice Mission, representatives from Judiciary, Office of the DPP, National Police Service, IPOA, PRWG, Witness Protection, Wangeshi, Imlo, my dear friends sitting here at the front, all of you, let me just say, for I may have missed anyone, I fear you all. Allow me to begin by recognizing the work that our gracious host, International Justice Mission Kenya, has done today, and just highlighting the plight that many see and the suffering that many experience today. You know, when someone was asking why, particularly on Friday, I think this country has a history of Kamata Fridays. And I think we clap again for the theater, because Chairman IPOA, I hadn't seen you there, and because they depict a real reality of what happens. And they didn't tell you the difficulty of even getting to see the people who have been arrested. And further, I discovered a new trick is to register on the occurrence book a different name from the name of the individual. So when you come to ask, because you'll definitely get information from different headquarters that this number of people have been arrested. And you go and you demand you want to see the occurrence book. So if his name is Silas, they will write Cyrus, or they'll write Peter. So you will not be able, and they are insisting that is not the person. And so if you do not have the right person, they will not allow you to see. And unless you are coming with a bit of force, you'll eventually not be able to discover that at the end of the day, the very person you are looking for, you keep going back and forth, is being kept locked in that police station. And I like they depict the question about being included in the occurrence book, because sometimes what the tricks we have seen is they refuse to record the person so that they don't find fault with the judiciary. So 24 hours will go on while you have been there for 48 hours, because by the time you are recorded, it had taken quite a bit, so that they ensure they keep you there and frustrate you for as long as possible. It's both an honor and privilege to join you here today as we reflect on the findings of this baseline study on justice system response to police accountability. The subject of police accountability is at the very heart of constitutionalism and the rule of law in Kenya. The framers of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 were unequivocal in their vision for a disciplined service that is professional, transparent, accountable, and respectful to human rights. Article 244 of the Constitution expressly requires the National Police Service to strive for the highest standards of professionalism and discipline, to comply with constitutional standards of human rights and fundamental freedoms, and to foster relationships with society. Ultimately, our constitutional scheme contemplates a police service that not only upholds the law and protects citizens from crime, but stands as an integral safeguard to the democratic franchise and the civil space. Yet despite this clarity, our nation has witnessed repeated instances where the conduct of police officers has fallen short of these constitutional functions. Extrajudicial killings, excessive use of force, arbitrary arrests, and failures in investigating police misconduct have eroded public trust in this crucial institution and sparked irreconcilable cynicism among the people. The challenge this situation portends is not merely one of individual accountability, but of institutional response, cultural transformation, and systematic reform. It calls upon every person, institution, agency, and authority in Kenya to take a proactive stance to prevent total collapse of the National Police Service's institutional capacity to maintain law and order and uphold justice and human rights. None of us can play a piecemeal role in this venture because, as Desmond Tutu wisely reminded the world, if you're neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. Let us reflect briefly on two recent moments in our nation's history that underscore the urgency of today's situation. First, in June 2024, the youth-led finance bill protest shook the very foundation of our democracy. Citizens, particularly young people, expressed their profound dissent, not just against an unfavorable tax regime, but more importantly, against the general state of governance. The response to protests, which were initially peaceful, was both violent and unwarranted. Later, at the beginning of 2025, the death of Albert Omondi Ojwang, a teacher and blogger who died in police custody after criticizing a senior officer, ignited nationwide protests. The demonstrations, largely organized online, spread rapidly across the country and met the characteristic violent and repressive response from the police service. Yet again, more blood was shed, lives lost, and resolve of the people for real reform broken. Yesterday evening, we are reminded that this is not an abstract debate, but a continuing reality. At St. George's School in Nairobi, students went on strike after reports that a teacher had assaulted one of their peers. Instead of seeking mediation and child-sensitive resolution mechanism, the school administration called on the police. The officers deployed used excessive force to quell the students, leaving minors crying and injured. This disturbing incident underscores that police brutality continues to persist even in handling children. It is a sobering reminder that unless accountability is enforced, the cycle of violence will perpetuate itself against generations, violating not only rights, but also the innocent of minors. Evidently, the ongoing of the past year exposed a consistent but worrying trend within the police. It's a discomfort for accountability. Within our constitutional framework, that legitimacy is dependent on legal propriety, fairness, and adherence to fundamental principles of human rights. Where cyclic state-sanctioned violence is meted against the sovereign people, the monopoly to exercise violence legitimately is reclaimed by the people, and the result is a state of lawlessness. It is against this backdrop that today's dissemination of the baseline study is both timely and significant. By interrogating how the justice system has responded to matters of police accountability, the study provides us with empirical evidence on what has worked, where gaps persist, and how can we build a better future. The study is not just a report, but a mirror held by the justice sector. It compels us to ask hard questions about the adequacy of our legal frameworks, the responsiveness of our institutions, and the lived realities of citizens seeking justice. The responsibility to strengthen police accountability does not rest in one institution. It is shared across the justice chain. In our last NCAJ meeting, I think that was something that was shared, that we need to all pull together. The judiciary must ensure that cases of police misconduct are handled expeditiously. I keep saying this and I'll say it again. If we can do election matters in 6 months, imagine if we held cases for police misconduct in 6 months. What deterrent would that make? Because just doing one case and completing it from start to finish, people seeing that you kill somebody in January, you arrested in February, in 6 months you're in jail, and it's trending on the newspaper. That will be the biggest deterrent for the violence that we continue to see. By action, can we also show that this is justice that is lived? If people have to wait in court over 10 years, you're still at the plea stage of a case. The question is, like Rex Masai, we are still at an inquiry. When will the family of Rex Masai see the matter go to the stage that the DPP prefers charges and we commence prosecution? This is the same problem that we continue to have. So many victims trying to pull the families together, agreeing for them to go to court, dealing with witness protection challenges, because they are also afraid, and witnesses are also afraid. And a lot of the challenges, if you read the Beasley Kogi case, it was thrown out because there was no evidence that there was a witness showing the killing. Witnesses to stand and say this police officer is the one who killed. How many people are ready, after seeing the threats and the killings, to come and stand and say, yes, I was there and I saw that happen? If you're not even sure if tomorrow you'll be the next, or the example that is shown. The standards of law, I know we have to keep by the evidentiary nature, but as well as we need to give support, more support to certain institutions to be able that this criminal justice system can actually see life. We see more funding on witness protection. We actually see more witnesses protected, that we can have cases from start to finish, that along the way we do not lose witnesses, and that we have a justice system that moves faster, particularly for these cases that continue to be a thorn in the flesh of our system. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecution must embolden itself in bringing forward well-investigated, evidence-based cases to court. We appreciate that the decision to charge considers both an evidentiary test and a public interest test. Curiously, there are matters where the public interest informs the decision to charge, even where gaps in evidentiary test make the prosecution look like one big Hail Mary. It might be time to reassess cases of police violence and treat them as matters in need of those Hail Marys. The Independent Police Oversight Authority must remain resourced and independent. While the strategic and operational challenges encountered in discharging the mandate of IPOA require collective efforts from all stakeholders, nothing precludes the authority from making the most of what it has. No step forward is too small as long as it takes you to the right direction. In the past, civil society and partners as IJM have become more pronounced than ever. The indeflatable efforts to be at the scene of human rights violations, supporting victims, and seeking accountability from the individual perpetrators and police as an institution breeds a culture of awareness and public consciousness. This role comes with its risks and challenges, but there is no better reward than that of progressive change, which comes with stubborn pursuit for justice. We're reminded that justice is not achieved by chance. As Barack Obama once observed, the arc of moral universe must bend towards justice, but it does not bend on its own. Progress requires deliberate action, institutional courage, and collective will. John Adams' timeless truth that we are a government of laws, not of men, underscores that no individual, however powerful, stands above the law. The police, like all citizens, must be subject to legal accountability. We invite the service to embrace accountability as professionalism rather than punishment. Drawing from today's study and this reflection, I propose several pathways. We must commit to policy and legislative reforms that address the gaps identified. We must strengthen the collaboration across institutions, openly and freely share knowledge, experiences, challenges, and solutions. Let us deliberately pursue reforms that are data-driven, transparent, and sustainable. As a Law Society of Kenya, we reaffirm our commitment to champion justice, protect victims' rights, and hold institutions accountable. Nothing and nobody can undermine this resolve, and nothing should persuade the people of Kenya otherwise. Let me once again extend my gratitude to IJM for leading this critical study. This event is not an end, it's a call to action. Police accountability is not optional, it's foundational to trust in democratic society. Let us move from dialogue to action, from findings to reform, from aspiration to implementation. Together we can build a justice system where accountability is the norm, not the exception. And I hope you will have calls of action, because I think that's how we rally one another and also give that boost of passion and life into the work that they do. You said that you are a survivor, and we are happy that you can sit here and also share your experiences, because we don't get to see so many, and some that we get to see are definitely so broken. And so as an institution, we'll continue to do the bit that we can, and you can hold us accountable to that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Madam President, for those words. Allow me now to invite Vincent, or rather Josephat Ongaya, who is from the Kenya Champions for Justice. He has his lived experiences. Please, Josephat, come forward and speak to us.
Yeah. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm Josephat Ongaya, the chairperson of Kenya Champion for Justice, lead survivors that advocates for the rights and victims of police issues and suspected survivors through the criminal justice system in Kenya. I am a victim of police brutality after my adolescent son. I am a victim of police brutality after my adolescent son was murdered together with the 7 other teenagers in 2016 at Mukuru kwa Ruben. Their parents and I have been pursuing justice since then through inquest processing at Makadara Law Court. The journey has not been easy, and the cost of seeking justice has been high. 9 years later, we are still at the same point we began, waiting for an answer. I am blessed with the IJM baseline report because it validates the plight of victims and in this country. It highlights several gaps in investigation, prosecution, and victim support, especially in the cost of justice for survivors, especially those streaming from vulnerable communities. The duty between here today must commit providing on accessible and trauma-informed justice system that works for all. As a survivor, improvement, we welcome the national conversation. We welcome the national conservation on victim comparison. However, it would be beneficial if we supported our current laws, like the Victims Protection Act, in delivering these mandates to ensure all victims are supported. The conversation looks out other victims like me who do not need to journey alone. Najua kwamba Mungu anaweza kutuokoa, but we can use our voice to secure other victims in Kenya. God bless you and thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Josephat, and for sharing your story and highlights of the journey that you've had to walk. And we hope that the justice system can do better for you. Allow me then to invite Vincent Chahale, who is the country director, IJM, to speak to us on particularly the issues you've witnessed today from the report and what he sees it from IJM perspective.
Thank you very much, Sam. Our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Allow me to just observe the earlier protocol laid. Just like all of us, I'm still as well reeling from the drama that we just watched. Because it's a reality for most of our young people, especially in peri-urban areas. Just watching that drama, you can see a depiction of what ails our system. And that is why, as IJM, we undertake such studies, because it is on the basis of such data that we can be able to inform policy. This study has taken about 2 years, and it was a painstaking study. And of course, it was also a resource-intensive study. And therefore, I would just urge us, even as we interrogate this report and look at some of the recommendations that we have made, to look at it from that perspective, that it is a study that is meant to inform how we can improve our criminal justice system. One of the things being talked about now is the issue of compensation for victims. It is a national issue right now. But I wish that as a nation we would not be arguing on procedure if we are agreeing that people need compensation. Because the debate that we are having now is whether the means justifies the end or the end should justify the means. So the thought that I have is, if we are in agreement that victims of police brutality require or need compensation, then surely we should be able to quickly resolve the issue of how do we go about it and who do we involve. If it is a national issue, in my considered view, then we should involve everybody. We should not have a situation where we think that some should be involved and some should not be involved. We should involve everybody because it is a national conversation. We have had issues of police brutality for years on end. And therefore, when we have such an opportunity, in my view, I think it is a time to seize that moment so that we get compensation for our victims. You may not know, for those who may not have represented some of these victims like we do at IJM, and it is a painstaking and rigorous exercise. Because first, you have to go through litigation, yeah? And with all the challenges of going through the litigation process. And then you have to start another process, even after getting the award by the court, you have to start another process of securing that award from government. And it can take even as long or even longer than the litigation process took. At this time, the victims are suffering. They don't have money to access counseling services, psychosocial support. Some of them still have bullets lodged in their bodies. Even victims of last year's protest and the other, some of them still have bullets. Some of them still require medical attention. All that is resource intensive. And yet, we can take time to discuss, on procedure when we are agreeing that they should be compensated. I think we are being unfair, not just to ourselves, but even to that very argument. And so, for me, my plea is that all parties should be involved and we should quickly resolve the issue of how do we go about it. And it is something that can be resolved outside court. We don't need to go to court for court to advise on how we should go about it, because that is also another litigation process. This is something that all parties can sit down and we agree. It would have been a disaster if we were saying that we are not agreeing that they should be compensated. But if we are all agreeing, then surely we should look speedily and timelessly into that issue. And not just for those victims, but we have other victims as well of SGBV. We have victims of torture. And we have a robust laws that can handle all these things. In fact, from where I sit, I think sometimes in Kenya we over-legislate. Robust laws that can handle all these things. In fact, from where I sit, legislate. That it is ironical that in years past, when we didn't have most of these laws, we had less of some of these things. Like corruption, for example. We may not have had so many laws in the years past, but corruption was at a lesser extent than now when we have so many laws and even a very robust constitution addressing ethics, a whole chapter on ethics. And yet we still face a lot of issues of corruption and all that. In fact, just looking at what has been depicted here and the numbers that we have seen from this study, you can see that at the center of police abuse of power is corruption. We've heard about the Fridays to Saturdays. It's just to give time to extort, you know, and all these things. So we need to speedily, without taking too much time, agree on how do we get these victims compensated. We've just heard from our survivor that since 2016, this is now 2025, and the matter of his son has not been resolved. And it's not one isolated incident. It is a raft of so many such incidences. Behind every figure that we have seen in that report, there is a story. There's a story of a mother who has lost a son. There's a story of young children who lost a father who was coming back home from work, and maybe because he had Rasta, he was arrested and things took a different turn. So behind all those numbers, there's a story, and we must address ourselves to those stories and have fidelity to our constitution in terms of how do we interpret it in a manner that these victims can so speedily get the compensation that they so deserve. Just one or two recommendations from where I sit and from what I've seen here this morning. One is that we need to interrogate and maybe offer support to our police officers who may not be in a proper mental wellness state. Because also their work environment is a difficult work environment. Yeah. As I was watching the ones who are dramatizing, I know there are some who are worse than that. But then also they need support. One of them said that, we need to collect money, for to support the work, isn't it? So which means some of that money is collected to go and support police work, and yet that is supposed to be given by government. Yeah? So this is just a drama, but it is a depiction of the truth. It is a depiction of the truth. We must ask ourselves, when you see traffic police officers collecting money every day, and sometimes they are arrested by EACC and they are found with so many notes of 50 shillings, then where does all that money go? Because it doesn't mean it just goes to that police officer. We must interrogate, where does it go? Do police stations have enough resources to run themselves? Secondly, I think times without number, we have talked about disposal of cases. Madam President has also mentioned that. But we must go to the root causes of why cases delay. What causes that delay? Do we have adequate personnel, for example, in our judicial system? Do we have enough judges? Do we have enough magistrates? Why do cases delay? Do we have enough investigators? Do we have enough personnel at IPOA? So for me, I think it's a matter of just as a nation, putting our priorities upside down. If we budget adequately, then the judiciary should not be complaining of being under-resourced. The oversight agencies like Kenya National Human Rights Commission, they are under-resourced. Yeah, why should we deny them resources that they need for them to be able to do their work? And so, well, I may not be a budget expert, but if I just apply common sense, I think one of the areas you'd want to resource adequately would be the judiciary. You'd want to have enough judges, you'd want to have enough prosecutors, you'd want to have enough investigators so that cases are speedily investigated, prosecuted, and resolved for the better good and running of the nation. So we must look at the root causes. I think we have enough reports. My hope is that this study will not just be another study that we'll put somewhere, but we will try, like the LSK president said, we'll try and call for action. Yeah, because there are certain actions in the recommendations that if we take, then we won't have cases as high as we have right now. Then there's also the issue of recruitment. And I think even right now, there's a debate somewhere about recruitment into the police force. And for me, I think we should professionalize all that exercise. We should have adequate personnel, but at the same time, the process of recruitment should be a professionally run process, devoid of any interest. And I'm not saying there are, but I'm just saying devoid of any interest, if at all. Because if you have issues with the police, then every sector is affected. If security is affected, investments are affected. Okay? Every other sector is affected. So there are areas that we cannot afford to have them struggle with certain challenges as we see. I would also like to invite us, we saw about the domains that the study used, things like performance, reliance, confidence, and I would want to urge our government agencies which are represented here. These are some of the areas that you can use to self-appraise. As you self-appraise yourselves, see what level of confidence do the public have in you? What level of reliance? To what extent do they rely? How is your performance? All those domains, I think it would be a very good self-assessment you can conduct from time to time. And as IJM would be ready and willing for any of the criminal justice system organizations that may want to do that, would be ready and willing to partner with you in that regard. I don't want to say much. I think much has been said, especially by the play. For a moment, I wished I was an actor. They depicted it so well, and they depicted what many, the 42% that we saw in the study, they depicted what they have gone through. But it is a responsibility for us all. And I think it's time that we put our efforts together and we see how best can we find redress. And not just how best, but how speedily can we do that. I thank you all.
Thank you so much, Vincent, for those thought-provoking remarks you've given us. We need to recognize those among us, that is the Kenya Champions for Justice, the survivors in the house. Please stand. Please stand. Thank you so much. You may be seated. They have survived police abuse of power, and all of them you see there, each has a story of what has happened, and many still pushing for justice. I want to invite a few of our officials to speak to us, and when I give you a chance, please spend maximum of about 3 minutes, if you can. If you do so, that would be very good for us, so that we can proceed with the program. Starting with Grace Wangeshi, who is from the Police Reforms Working Group, and shortly after that we'll hear from Robert Oyembo, representing the DPP.
Viva, comrades, viva. Viva. Viva, comrades, viva. Viva. Asanteni sana, IJM, for having us. Thank you for the wonderful report that has been shared with us. I want to recognize the protocol that has been set before me. And because of time, allow me to say just a few things. One, the traveling theater, Asanteni sana. Thank you so much. You never cease to amaze because you turn the conversation into something people can see and hear and associate with. So thank you for the work that you have done. Now, on behalf of the Police Reforms Working Group, my name is Wangeshi, the Executive Director of IMLU, the Independent Medical Legal Unit. I see a couple of us here. If you're from the Police Reforms Working Group, just quickly stand. Including IJM, very, very quickly. So where yes, Mount Kenya Defenders, so a couple of us, thank you. We are a network of, thank you very much, you can have your seat. We are a network of about 23 organizations that coordinate around police reforms. And this report speaks squarely to us. It really speaks to us in regards to what we do. And so one of the things I want to just appreciate is that today a milestone has been achieved, a very great milestone. Congratulations, Jahale and your team. Why am I speaking of a milestone? It's because data speaks. The data that has been presented to us is not just data. Data speaks. You have seen numbers that translate into Wanjikos, into Omondis, into every person that is a survivor. Every person who's gone through police brutality and abuse of power. But what does that data do when it speaks? It fuels the need for change. Change both in terms of legal change and contributing to policy. And if I were duty bearer today, and if I were a CSO today, of which I am, I would carry this report very quickly and I go and start budgeting around it and planning my programs around it because we've been given a challenge. It's a call to action. It's a call to change and contribute to police accountability. How are we contributing to police accountability? Police accountability is a journey that brings together a lot of players. Civil society, survivors, and thank you all the survivors that are here. When survivors share their story, it's not for us to sympathize. It's for us to hear the pain they went through and commit to do something about that pain. It is their call for change. It is their voice to say, we are tired and it shouldn't happen to another person. So survivors are in that journey. Civil society players are in that journey. Duty bearers, and thank you so much for all of you being here, including the oversight mechanisms, our very dear friends, and I see IPOA's team here. Thank you. You're part of this journey. Contribute to this journey of change by saying, I have a mandate. The mandate that the Constitution has provided to me or given to me, the mandate within which my institution has been given, and so I will act according to the mandate that has been given. What are the key things we look for from our duty bearers? Very simple things that have been mentioned by my predecessors. Constitutionalism, just abiding to the Constitution of Kenya. Rule of law, justice, respect of human rights, and the dignity of people. And as such, this report is telling us that the change that needs to be done, in as much as we've talked about training, and I have nothing against training, but I'll tell you from experience, because in the Police Reforms Working Group, a lot of what we do every day engages with police. It's not a lack of capacity. Neither is it a lack of skills. That's not the top level gaps. The gaps are around attitudes and behavior. It's about how we conduct ourselves. It's about telling myself that I'm going to change myself as an officer and hope that the institution of the police service will change. And the Traveling Theatre did ask, is it a service or is it a force? Now, what we want to do and want to encourage is total transformation. Total transformation comes from the heart and the mind. So today I'm not talking legal, I'm not talking theory, I'm talking to the hearts and minds of people in this room, and hopefully we can take those to our institutions. that when we are employed, me as Wangeshi, sitting in as the executive director of IMLO, I put my mind and my heart to the survivors, to this great team that I see here. With the pain that you're carrying, you have come in to contribute your thoughts into a process that can change so that tomorrow our children are not victims. That is a kind of change that we want to see, so that all of us embrace this. To the oversight mechanisms, we appreciate the role that you play, and we want to ask that you keep your commitment to be the people's watchdog. And we are asking you not just to be a watchdog that can bark, but we want to ask you that you start biting, and biting very hard. Why are we saying that you must bite? It's because unless action is taken, it will be a rhetoric. We will keep talking, we will keep being in these spaces, we will keep demanding things, but nothing will change. And so today is not a day for speeches, it's a day to ask ourselves, from that report, what part of it can I bite? From the institution that I'm representing, what part of it am I going to take and act on? So congratulations once again to the IJM team. And we commit as a police reforms working group to continue oversighting the reforms agenda, to continue providing strategies, to continue providing evidence and data like IJM has done, to demonstrate where the gaps are, but most importantly, to call for the change that is needed. We work with a lot of other entities, WPA, Victims Protection, the AG's office. We work with everyone in the ecosystem. If we all put in our best foot forward, Kenya and the issues around policing and the police accountability, ending impunity will be a thing of the past. So we can do it. Let's keep the focus. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Grace, for your remarks. So some of these questions that you're raising, we'll hear from the National Police Service to respond to some of them. But first from the ODPP, Robert.
The County Director, IJM, the Honorable Justice Mugai, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me pass the apologies of the DPP who would have wished to be here, but because of duties, exigencies of duties abroad, he is unable to attend today. Please accept his best wishes. On behalf of the DPP, I wish to congratulate the IJM for the extensive survey that you have done. I look forward to reading the comprehensive report that will come out of it. The ODPP and IJM have a strong partnership which we continue to nurture. We look forward to working together with IJM in police accountability and other areas. I wish to assure you, as the person in charge of civil rights at ODPP, that we will implement the recommendations that are contained in the report. We will work together with our partners, the IPOA, IAU, all our partners, so that the recommendations that you have made will see the light of day. So once again, I thank you very much for the report, and I look forward to receiving the comprehensive one. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was quite brief. So from the National Police Service, let's hear from from Rogers. Rogers, please come. Oh, he's right here. Speak to us, and shortly after that, we'll hear from Dr. Moses, Commissioner Jedida Warohio from Witness Protection Agency.
Okay, the County Director, IJM,
representatives from IPOA, ODPP, Judiciary, the President of LSK, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to represent the spokesperson of the National Police Service, Mr. Mushiri Nyaga, who was to come, but something came up and he had to rush. So I'm delighted to be here today as the IJM launches its baseline protection study report for 2022-2024. Let me take this early opportunity to thank IJM for the invitation. Ladies and gentlemen, the Inspector General of the Police has prioritized the transformation of police stations and indeed all service areas into centers of excellence for police operations. They should not only serve as administrative units, but also as hubs of professionalism, responsiveness, and service delivery. Furthermore, the service has embraced community-centered approach to policing, which is vital for building trust and enhancing cooperation between the police and the public. Effective crime prevention is achieved when officers work collaboratively with the communities they serve. Additionally, transparency, accountability, and compliance with constitutional standards of human rights and fundamental freedoms are the cornerstones of professional policing. The service has endeavored to establish clear communication channels, regularly evaluate police procedures and practices, and ensure officers adhere to the highest ethical standards. Moreover, as a service, we remain committed to strengthening and harmonizing the capacities of our officers to enhance service delivery. At this juncture, I wish to acknowledge and appreciate the International Justice Mission for their tremendous support. The National Police Service values this partnership and looks forward to our continued collaboration in serving the public. We reiterate our commitment to the objectives and functions of the National Police Service, which encompass striving for the highest standards of professionalism and discipline among its members, preventing corruption while promoting transparency and accountability, and lastly, complying with the constitutional standards of human rights and fundamental freedoms. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rogers, for speaking to us on what the National Police Service is doing and what we need to do. Now I want us to listen to Commissioner Jedida from Witness Protection.
Good afternoon. Hamjambo. Allow me to stand on the protocols that have been established and also recognize our chief guest, I think Justice Wigai, and the Deputy CRJ, who are members of our advisory board. I'm wrong, right? I'm very excited this morning to stand here on behalf of the Witness Protection Agency and take this opportunity to really celebrate the launch of this baseline protection study report and the findings that are presented or are presented this morning, which really inform us in terms of accelerating the criminal justice actions, the criminal justice reforms, and also the interagency collaboration in the administration of justice. By our president from the Law Society of Kenya echoed the words of Martin Luther King Jr., who said that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And those who have spoken before me, especially my sister from the police working group, talked about the long journey. But that journey must bend towards justice. And yes, every time we speak about police action, especially in respect to abuse, the answer is that it must have and encompass justice for all. We must ensure that victims and survivors, and I celebrate that you stand together this afternoon, there must be justice for them, and justice must be dispensed appropriately and within good time. First, I want to appreciate my brother and his team from the International Justice Mission, which over the years has contributed significantly to the quest for justice through interagency collaboration, public awareness, specialized training, policy advocacy, technical support, including what he has offered this afternoon in respect to the domains, especially also as technical support in matters mental health and training on trauma-informed care. And this morning, again, this baseline. As an agency, we have worked with IJM in many ways, and our observation as an agency, and this is our feedback to IJM, is that IJM is firm, you're focused, you're meticulous in your work, and consistent towards the cause of justice, accountability, and transparency. We celebrate you and we salute you because your role as an interlocutor is real, practical, and forever present in the face of justice. The second thing I want to say is that the provision of special services is really the mandate of Witness Protection Agency. This report is about protection. We provide special protection as a measure and strategy of last resort. This means that our first and second protector are the National Police Service, who have just spoken before me, and the judiciary, respectively. Therefore, the agency comes in to complement and support that protection by providing a special protection to witnesses who are at risk or who are intimidated due to the important information that they hold and are cooperating with the prosecution, and we had the DPP here before me, and other law enforcement agencies. Indeed, Section 5(3) provides for how to apply for special protection. And you can apply as a witness, you can apply as a law enforcement agency, you can apply as a prosecutor, you can apply as a legal representative, you can apply as a parent or a guardian of a minor. You can also apply as an intermediary. In short, any of us can apply. And when we look at our data, we have received a lot of self-referrals, which is the main number or the highest number of applications. We've also received referrals from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, the National Police Service, especially DCI and ATPU, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the Independent Policing Unit, the Judiciary, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, amongst others. And you can see most of them, if not all of them, are represented here. However, a majority of the applications, in a ratio of 3 applications, 1 is admitted to the program for very good reasons. Third, the protection report, one of the findings, actually not one, all the findings are really correct. However, we need to appreciate the following as we take the call to action. That one, victim support and witness protection are distinct and should not be discussed in the same sentence. Why? Because not all witnesses are victims. And also remember, as an agency, we are looking for the star witness, the main witness who will nail the case in terms of prosecution and conviction. And remember, there's no trial or there's no successful trial without a witness. So our focus is on witnesses. Secondly, the agency has a dual mandate. One is to admit witnesses into the witness protection program, and 2 is to advise both state and non-state actors on the strategies and measures to adopt and witness protection. And I'll call you to action to use especially the second mandate of advice, where we're able to advise you and we give you practical advice in terms of how to deal and support the witnesses who are vulnerable but may not measure up to the threshold that is envisioned in the Witness Protection Act. We are proud as a country that our act does not limit the nature of cases that the agency picks up. In many jurisdictions where witness protection is provided, it goes for the so-called serious heavy cases, terror, money laundering, human trafficking. But for here, a crime as arson is something that can be admitted into the program, murder and the rest. The fourth thing I want to say is that we are unique in this country, and we should be proud of the Witness Protection Agency, because our criteria of admission, and if you read Section 6 of the Witness Protection Act, is very clear, does not lock out any crime. And one criteria is that, I'll just list, the seriousness of the offense, and it has to be linked with the relevant evidence or statement. The nature and importance of the relevant evidence or the statement. So the witness must have important evidence or information to that particular case. The nature of the perceived danger, and that came out in the report. Many of us fear the police station, we fear the judiciary, but when we are looking at the perceived danger, is a risk to yourself, and a risk that is directly linked to the fact that you have important information that we do not want to make it to the criminal trial. The other parameter is public interest in prosecution. There could be many cases, but is there a public interest to prosecute the case? And any other relevant matter that the director may consider. And while we are looking at that, we also look at you as a witness. Do you have alternative protection methods? And very important, are you able to adopt to the restrictions and the measures in the program? One other issue that was raised in the report was the issue of investigation and protection at the investigation stage. The director under Section 9 can include a witness even on temporary protection when there is a need for that protection. And therefore, if you read the Act very clearly, we are able to provide special protection from the investigation stage, and we have done that during the litigation stage or the prosecution stage, and even thereafter. What is important is, are you at risk, and is the risk high enough to cause harm to you? We believe that police accountability remains central to the broader quest for justice and human rights. Policing is among the most visible symbols of state authority and legitimacy. When that public trust is eroded due to a culture of impunity or a slow justice system, then the tenets of justice and human dignity are violated and the public becomes restless. Today, as state institutions, as oversight institutions like IPOA, as non-state actors, as civil society, as civilians, as citizens, as survivors, we are challenged this morning to ask these questions this afternoon. What can we do differently? What must we strengthen? How do we rebuild the public trust? The answers and the actions are with each one of us. Since one of us, all of us, some of us are potential witnesses and are potential to benefit as from the program, so that the quest for justice is enhanced. The last thing I want to say is that for us, in terms of our call to action and reflecting on this report, as the agency, we have developed a witness protection curriculum, which has specific modules for training. And for us, training is very important, because the day we integrate witness protection from birth to death, a lot of the challenges that we have will be minimized. We have a module for judicial officers and judges in terms of legal. We have a module for prosecutors that PTI can benefit from, and KJA. We have a module for investigators the National Police Academy can benefit from, the CID Training Institute, and even the Integrity Academy, that is ESCC. We have a module that lawyers and advocates can benefit from, and therefore we need to see how we integrate this even in the training of law and in the Kenya School of Law. And recently, through the Paralegal Society of Kenya, we integrated witness protection measures and learning in the paralegal curriculum. I urge those prosecutors who are in the room, I urge those in the judiciary who are in the room to really read and appreciate and implement the witness protection rules of 2015 that were gazetted by the Honorable Chief Justice, because they provide the acceleration mechanism to accelerate cases, especially in matters where they are protected witnesses. The other thing that I urge the artists in the room, and I was happy also seeing the drama, but also touched by the level of violence that we have in the country, that we can develop animations with AI so that we can be able to assist people understand the witness protection program, the application process, the criteria for admission, and the like. We can be able to use that to accelerate the awareness and the learning. If you have a call to action to the Witness Protection Agency, please write to the director at wpa.go.ke or call any of our hotlines, 0711 222 441 or 0725 222 442. We are open 24/7, and you can also visit us in any of the law courts, especially Milimani law courts, Embu law courts, and Kisumu law courts. Finally, and I know I've said finally, I am certain that when justice systems respond effectively together, because the challenge we have is a systemic issue, they reaffirm the dignity of the citizens. They reinforce the rule of law. Let us all renew our commitment, and we renew our commitment as the Witness Protection Agency to build the public trust and to provide the public service. Together, we can be able to do the same. let us be challenged by the words of Sir Robert Peel, the British Prime Minister and the founder of the Conservative Party, who said, the police are the public, and the public are the police. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director, for your remarks. Allow me to recognize the presence of Mr. Charles Dulo, who is the chairperson at the Commission on Administrative Justice. Thank you for joining us. And I'll invite Dr. Moses Maranga, who is the Chief Executive Officer at the National Council on Administrative Justice and IJM. Please come.
Yeah, I was trying to look at my name in the program, but I can't trace it. So it was a nice abuse, but again, well appreciated for the opportunity to say a word or two. I want to ride on the protocols already established. My name is Dr. Moses Maranga, the Executive Director, National Council on the Administration of Justice. What we do at NCAJ is twofold: to enhance efficiency of the justice sector and to spearhead reforms in the justice sector. And I want to appreciate, because I can see most of the council members are here. First, I want to appreciate the study by IJM, congratulations. And I want to associate myself with the results. As a researcher, I have seen that you have employed a rich or rigorous methodology, and that guarantees credibility of results. With credible results, ladies and gentlemen, then we can associate and plan to effect or follow up with recommendations. I have done a lot of notes, which I'll take to my supervisors, especially on the role of coordination of criminal justice system. I have seen quite a raft of recommendations touching on NCAJ and coordination and partnership. But I want to pinpoint on one: focus on victims, what we usually call victim-centered justice. And I know our chairperson, the Honorable Chief Justice, always emphasizes people-centered justice. In this scenario, the people or the person is the victim. Number two recommendation, it's the issue of timelines, and the President, LSK, has also emphasized the same. For the justice sector institutions, starting from the upstream, the police, it's about the speed of investigations, time taken to finalize investigation, time taken to present the case for review by the DPP, time taken by the DPP to finalize reviewing the file and making a decision to charge or not, time taken by courts from the filing of a case to issuance of final orders. That is a very strong recommendation, which I can see is my take home. If we can improve on efficiency, if we can handle the cases within the shortest period of time, we will be spot on. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Dr. Ari. So I want us to listen to the judiciary by inviting Honorable Paul Ndimu, who is, or rather Demo, who is the Deputy Registrar of the Judiciary, who will then invite the judge.
Thank you very much, MC, for coordinating us very well. Allow me to ride also on the protocols that have already been established. This morning, good afternoon. Yeah, before I make some remarks, it's a really great pleasure to have one of our honorable judges who is actually in the criminal division, where some of the matters we are talking about land. So I think it would just be right for me at this juncture, before I say much, to welcome the honorable judge to just say something very brief, and then I can give these other remarks. You can come here. You can choose whether to come there or here. Yes. Thank you.
Nizungumze kwa lugha ya Kiswahili. Nataka kushukuru mkurugenzi wa IJM kwa mafunzo ambayo ametupatia katika idara ya mahakama, na nikaalikwa nije nisikize. Nilikuwa nawauliza kwa nini mnaniita, lakini ningetaka kusema jambo moja tu. Wale ambao wamefanya ule mchezo wa sarakasi, Travelers Theatre, tafadhali, wakati kutakuwa na mkutano wa wale wote wanahusika na mambo ya sheria, mje mfanye hiyo sarakasi. Yale nimesoma, ningetaka wenzangu pia waone, ili wakati tuko kotini tujue tukiandika tumefanyaje katika haki za binadamu. Asanteni.
Asante sana jaji. Sikufahamu kwamba Kiswahili chako ni kisanifu sana hivyo. Yeah, again, just before I share my remarks briefly, I think there was an issue raised about some inquest in Makadara, a 2016 matter. Kindly, after this, you can just see me privately so that we can follow up on the matter and we can give you the status. So, it is my pleasure to join you for the official launch of this, you can tell lunch imefika, karibu. Official launch of this very timely report. Indeed, it comes at a time when the collective national psyche is potent for a discussion on accountability generally and police reforms specifically. The subject of police reforms has dominated public discourse for decades, and despite our best efforts as a country, there is a general consensus that more needs to be done. The report therefore significantly contributes to this discussion by providing an empirical basis for action. The report gives valuable indication on the low confidence levels that we in the justice sector collectively suffer. And I'm emphatic, it is all of us collectively. The data we saw here really the number should be higher, but collectively there is a poverty of confidence, and I think that was alluded to by the presenter. It underscores the known but often understated fact that from the perspective of citizens, the criminal justice sector is one big chain. The average litigant is often not interested in the intricacies of our separate roles. A weakness in any part of the chain is an actual failure of the entire system of justice with devastating personal effect on individual citizen. The report, for instance, records 62% of people do not report incidences of police violations or victimization. And this is despite the fact that I think it was 75% of people expressed willingness to participate in such criminal proceedings. This is a clear indication that the justice sector must take collective, deliberate steps to spur confidence in its processes. And notably, from the report, our efforts to gain public confidence is greatly undermined by the integrity deficit in the justice sector, corruption, extortion, and harassment have indeed been identified in the report as the most prevalent forms of misconduct by the police. The need to present a joint sector front led to the development of the anti-corruption strategic guiding framework in Kenya's justice sector, which we must commit to fully implement. And again here, we are proud that this is an initiative that was championed under the National Council on the Administration of Justice for all the justice sector players. I believe that the solution to our collective public trust deficit lies in us working together to restore integrity and dignity in our services as a sector. Allow me to also mention that accountability really is the return that we give to Kenyans for the positions that we occupy in trust. We recognize today's report as an accountability tool which makes recommendations for not just the police service, but also for the judiciary and the justice sector as a whole. And we wish to assure you of the judiciary's commitment to collaborate with all the actors to address the identified gaps. We really need to be honest as a country. And as we talk about different reports, different issues, we sang our national anthem at the beginning. It is important that we are honest with ourselves. What is it that is not working? What is it that is working? The things that are working, let us enhance those things. The things that are not working, when we get such reports, let us strive to make a difference through the recommendations that are given in such reports. Let me also stress that every entity in the justice sector is charged with distinct responsibilities in the wider scheme of things. We in the judiciary have contributed to this agenda through progressive judicial pronouncements that augment constitutional principles. For instance, we've had decisions that have been made on the principle of command responsibility, and I think we've even shared this with IPOA, the import of Article 37, and also on the issue of criminal culpability in case of police brutality. An issue was raised here about speedy resolution of cases by the president of the LSK, and I think a very good point that we need to find a way to ensure the speedy resolution of cases. One of the things that we have found as we have interacted with stakeholders and the public is just the sheer dissatisfaction on the issue of delay of cases. And very good suggestions such as the one the president gave, president of LSK, about a short time to finish cases, just like we have in election-related cases. And the question begs, why? Why is that not possible? Or why has it not been possible to date? If you look at the simple issue about human resource, you'll be surprised, for example, to learn that a judge, the number of cases they have to deal with, workload, is 700 per judge. A magistrate has got double that number, 1,400 cases that they have to deal with. The ratio we have in Kenya now of judge stroke magistrate, or what we might call, let's call them judicial officers to the population is 1 to 70,000. 1 to 70,000. That number is just too high. The average that you would find, around the world is, we talk about, in a case such as ours, you would need to have about 3,000 judicial officers to the population. Because what you have on average in a number of these countries is about 50 judicial officers to 1 million people. So those who are very good in math, if you do 50 to 1 million, how many do you need for 57 million? The good mathematicians. you need approximately 3,000 and something judicial officers. It is when you have such numbers that then we can say, in terms of dealing with backlog, we are able to speedily deal with matters, and under 1 year, then you can say these matters will be dealt with. So as it is, priority was given in the statute for election-related matters just because of the governance, the significance of election-related matters. But that does not derogate the importance of these other matters. And so as we look at implementing the recommendations that have been given, I think it's important the conversation around capacity for the different institutions needs to be held so that we can have a robust governance structure that observes the rule of law, that then we are able to hold people to account, hold the judiciary to account, hold all the institutions to account in order to ensure that we move forward as a society. As I conclude, I wish to very heartily congratulate IJM for this report and also for really spearheading the issues of accountability and coming out strong, having the survivors in the room, and having such a great play from the traveling theater. Thank you very much, and I wish you all good afternoon.
Thank you, Paul. Also for the statistics, it's a point for us to also be thinking, or exactly how possible is it to pursue justice in a timely manner. Next is the chairperson of the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, Ahmed Isak, to come and also talk to us. From the findings, you find that out of those that are affected, only about 7% are reporting to IPOA. Majority are still reporting to the same police service. Or is that the case? Maybe you can talk to us about that.
Bismillah. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of IPOA, I want to commend IJM for this timely and very important report. Now, 2 days ago, a CID officer in plain clothes, driving his own car, had an accident with a boda rider on Thika Road. There was a dispute about who was to blame. And then they went to the police station. The traffic officers came. In the course of that argument, he drew his pistol and shot the boda rider and his passenger. Of course, then the police acted swiftly. He was arrested, he was disarmed, and taken to the police station. But because the public were very enraged by this blatant abuse of power, they banned the vehicle of this CID officer. He was taken to their cells. They were also going to go there, but then the police, in their good judgment, took him to Kiambu from Thika. So IPOA was immediately informed of the killing of these 2 people by the CID officer, and our team went to the ground. And yesterday, we applied for more time as we conclude investigations and collect evidence. I want to say that this, for me, showed that the police were able to act very swiftly. And also the IG has given me and others in IPOA assurance that they're always going to support IPOA in the work of oversight. And so this was a very good example of when the police cooperate with IPOA very quickly to deliver justice to the victims of police abuse. This also happened in the case of the Ojwang murder case. We are hoping that this trend continues and that we're going to have more cooperation and collaboration from the police command as we do our investigations. She said the police are the people and the people are the police. That, I think, summarized very aptly what we have in Kenya, which is policing by consent. We have 125,000 police officers. against over 50 million. And for the police to continue to maintain that authority, for a very unarmed officer to stop a vehicle on the road, the power comes from the confidence and the consent given by the people to the police. And so it's very important for the police to behave in a manner like which can inform that confidence and consent of the people. As IPOA, we have a role to play, which is to ensure we hold the police accountable. We have got our own challenges. We have been told by the president of LSK, my own president, I know that she has gone, that apart from barking, we need to also bite. We are very keen to do that. And the only thing I can say is, don't listen to what we say, just see what we do. I thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Let us now invite the representative of our chief guests, representing PS Judith Pareno of the Department of Justice, that is Bildad Keke, if you may come.
Is it still morning? It's in the afternoon. Good afternoon. Allow me stand on the already established protocol and relay the apologies of the Principal Secretary, Honorable Judith Pareno. I will read her speech, but before that, just allow me present you with a riddle. I leave no fingerprints, yet I scar the soul. I take without asking, leave hearts with a hole. You won't always see me, but you'll feel what I have done. I hide in the shadows, then flee from the sun. What am I? And on the second one, the sound of an ambulance will always be noise until it's your turn in the ambulance or a loved one. I am honored to join you this afternoon at the launch of this important baseline report. Allow me to thank International Justice Mission Kenya, all the stakeholders for spearheading this initiative to deepen discourse on the justice sector reforms and the police accountability. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll take note that the police are the only institution that are governed by 3 established institutions in our constitution. We have the IPOA and the National Police Service Commission, and a statutory body, the Internal Affairs Unit. This report provides us with a critical insight into how our system responds to the issues of police accountability. The findings and recommendations presented will help us identify the gaps, strengthen accountability mechanism, and guide police interventions. Such evidence-based research is vital in advancing reforms and promote transparency, justice, and respect for human rights. The government of Kenya, through the State Department for Justice, Human Rights, and Constitutional Affairs, continues to prioritize reforms that promote the rule of law and enhance accountability within the security and justice sector. It also makes us honor this invitation, is our commitment. We remain committed to strengthening institutional frameworks, promoting access to justice, and ensuring that accountability mechanisms are responsive and people-centered. This aligns with the government's broad reform agenda under the Kenya Kwanza administration, particularly in enhancing trust in state institutions. And it's also the Kenya Kwanza administration to operationalize the Victim Protection Board. Addressing these challenges of police accountabilities requires a multi-sectoral approach, and I commend the collaboration between the government agency, civil societies, and the judiciary, the police service, and the development partners represented here today. Together, we can translate the recommendation of this report into tangible reforms that safeguard the rights of our citizens and foster public confidence in the justice system. Ladies and gentlemen, I encourage all the stakeholders present to reflect on the findings of this report and commit to implementing the actionable recommendation it sets out. Let us collectively ensure that accountability is not enforced but embraced as a culture within the justice and security institution. Remember the ambulance riddle. In conclusion, I once again commend ICJ partners for this milestone contribution to strengthen the justice sector reforms until all are free. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bildad, Director, for making time for us to give us that keynote address. And now it's time for us to go ahead and launch the report. We'll first watch a video, then I request the front bench to be at the front as we also take photos with what is just about to be displayed, the dummy of the report. And after that, you'll be able to access copies of the report. So shortly, we'll be watching that video. Okay, he's looking for the laptop to do this for the video. Or I think you to play from the back there.
silence. A new baseline report commissioned by Behind every number, there is a story. A story of fear and silence, but also of courage and resilience. A new baseline report commissioned by International Justice Mission revealed that over 43% of citizens have experienced police abuse of power, and nearly 70% have witnessed misconduct firsthand. For some, it's harassment on the streets. For others, it's being forced to pay a bribe just to be left alone. And for too many, it ends in wrongful detention, or worse. But here's the tragedy. Most victims never report. Fear, lack of money, and above all, a deep mistrust of the justice system keep more than 6 out of 10 silent. For those who try to seek justice, the journey is long and punishing. Court cases drag on for years. Witnesses feel unsafe. Victims can't afford lawyers or transport to hearings. Nearly a quarter of victims abandon their cases, not because they want to, but because the system wears them down. Between 2021 and 2024, nearly 9,000 complaints were filed. Fewer than 3,000 were investigated, and only a few hundred ever reached prosecutors. And in the end, just 7 convictions. Out of thousands of cries for justice, only 7 voices were heard. And yet, there is resilience. 63.7% say they would still report abuse if it happened to them. Even more, nearly 90% say they would walk the entire path of justice if only they had the right support. Where survivors do get that support, 3 out of 4 stay the course until justice is delivered. But support alone is not enough. Until real accountability takes root, perpetrators remain free and victims remain unheard. Justice is still out of reach. Every story matters, every voice deserves to be heard, and every abuser must be held to account until all are free.
Please, the front bench, please, let's be here.
Behind every number, there is a
So we want them to represent us as we launch the report. We'll have the dummy come into the stage. So you can go around it, and we'll take a few photos to remember this moment. A few people on this side, a few people on the other side. Yep. Yes, from the National Police Service. As soon as the photographers are comfortable with that, we'll ask the team from IJM to present a few copies to the people at the front, led by Vincent, the country director. Sorry about that. All right, thank you so much. A few copies for the guests. So shortly after this, you'll also get a copy. And if you want to share with your colleagues and friends, there will be a QR code displayed at the front. And also you can access the report, a copy of the report on the website of IJM. So be sure to catch one and share so that you can inform conversations and perhaps decisions and actions. Yes, we can get a few pictures of the country director handing over the report to a few. All right, thank you so much. Please resume your seats. We are at the tail end of the conversation. Joseph will give us the vote of thanks. And shortly after that, we'll have a word of prayer from Pastor Susie Ingosi. Please be ready.
A big clap to the launch team. Well done, well done. I know this has been a very long process. And at IJM, we really want to thank all of you for coming. My name is Joseph Karaoke. I work at International Justice Mission at the regional team. So my job is just to pass a vote of thanks before we get the final prayer. First of all, we want to thank ASEPI's team. A big clap to ASEPI's team for putting together this report that I think is totally going to feed into the work of criminal justice system strengthening as we envision it as IJM. So ASEPIs, receive our greatest thanks to you. The second, we want to thank the IJM team. The IJM team, I know most of you are here, and some of you have worked very long on this report, so receive our thanks, both IJM Kenya team. We also want to recognize the input put by the IJM regional team for Africa and Europe. I see some of you here. Thank you so much for putting a lot of time and hours to read this report. And also to IJM global team that is also here. I see Pamela there and the entire global team that is represented here. Please receive our thanks for that. This report will not have been possible without our criminal justice system actors who participated actively in it. Both the National Police Service were willing to speak into this report, ODPP spoke to this report, Witness Protection Agency spoke to this report, IPOA spoke to this report, NPSC spoke to this report, and all the criminal justice system actors that participated to this. Makofi kwa criminal justice system actors, including even Internal Affairs Unit, NCAJ, and the rest, because without you, this report will not have been possible. And also we want to thank the communities, especially the community justice centers. Comrade Power, are you here? People in the community are the people who suffer violence a lot. And we thank the community for always standing up for these events. And also we want to thank the church. How many clergy are here? I know you're the people who speak in the communities. We want to thank the church even for participating in this event. The other people we want to thank a lot is the survivors of violence. Survivors of violence, especially Kenya Champions of Justice. Where are you, Kenya Champions of Justice? Thank you so much. This report, when you look at it, it has many pictures of survivors. These are people who have gone through different violations, especially in the criminal justice system. And we want to thank you for being here, for standing with us. And also today we want to just thank each one of you that has come here today to join us in this occasion. Please, we don't take it for granted. Even the National Police Service just coming to listen in. We want to thank you so much for coming, and all our criminal justice system actors just coming here to sit here. So receive all our thankful, heartfelt thanks from us. And for us from IJM, we say thank you. And may I call Sam Gituku to invite the person who will close. Asanteni sana, mjipigie makofi tafadhali.
All right, thank you, thank you, Joseph, for that. Just one more important announcement that I need to make because of what's ahead of us. After this, there will be lunch, and lunch is on 5th floor. We are now on the 1st floor. You may choose to take the stairs, or you may choose to take the lift. But we'll be led by the front row, so we'll allow them to be the first to go. Thereafter, we'll be supplied with meal vouchers so that we can go ahead and enjoy a meal to restore our energies. Pastor Ngosi, please come so that we can close for us with a word of prayer. She is the Deputy Secretary General of the NCCK.
Good afternoon, friends. I also want to echo my voice, and as the National Council of Churches representing faith-based actors, we want to tell all the victims and survivors of police abuse of power that we see you. We feel you, and may we see your trauma too, and may the God of comfort give you hope and surround you. So let us be upstanding as we take our Thanksgiving. Jehovah God, Holy Spirit, that is in each one of us, Lord of justice and mercy, we come before you, burdened by the pain of those that have suffered under the abuse of power. We ask for healing for the wounded, courage for most of us that desire to speak up, the ones that have been silenced, that you give us courage to speak up. We also pray for justice for the oppressed. Soften our hearts, especially, my Father. We pray for those that are in authority. Each one of us as leaders who reflect your righteousness, help us, oh Lord, in our positions of power to speak up and to stand up for justice and righteousness. I also want to pray especially for the leaders of the institutions that we have talked about today, and institutions that have oversight, institutions that are in the infrastructure to provide the justice that we need today, the IPOA, DPP, IJM, NPS, faith-based CBOs, that Jehovah Lord, you'll give us the courage to do what is right. Today, remind us in your words, coming through Micah 6:8, that we need to do justice, love, kindness, and walk humbly with you. So help us, Jehovah Rapha, help us, Jehovah Nisi, to co-create this justice, oh my Father, to make Kenya a better place. Help us to strive and to dwell in unity, peace, and liberty. So Father, help us today and always to show up as our best selves today. Father, we also want to pray for the meal that is ahead of us. As we receive it, may it be good nourishment unto our bodies. We receive this with thanksgiving, and in Jesus' name I have prayed. Amen.
All right, thank you. So the front row, you can lead us by proceeding to the 5th floor for your meal. The rest of us will get meal vouchers and at the same time get a copy of your reports.